What is up, YouTube? My name is Alex. Welcome back to the Lifting Nomad. Today we are in Mexico City, Mexico, La Ciudad de Mexico, and I want to talk about if being a digital nomad is right for you. As you all know, I've been doing some pretty cool stuff over the last year, ever since I started in Medellin, Colombia in the spring of last year. I was in Portugal, back home in Toronto, quick little stint in Miami, then came through Argentina, Uruguay, Peru, now in Mexico, about to go back to Medellin. So I've been doing some pretty cool stuff over the last little bit, and I want to talk about kind of my experience, the people I've met, who this lifestyle is best for, and hopefully that should give you an idea of whether you should give it a shot or not. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so let's chat about if this lifestyle is right for you. Should you try to be a digital nomad? What's in it for you? What's the pros and cons? All that good stuff. So I would say the last year has probably been my biggest year of mental, spiritual, emotional growth in my life. I think physically I was in my best shape probably maybe 2 summers ago when I first got proper shredded. I wasn't drinking alcohol or anything, and I got like really ripped up. I'm excited to get home this year in May in Toronto and do that again, get like proper diced up for summertime. But in terms of actual mental clarity and like confidence in my ability to meet new people and just like enjoy my life on a day-to-day basis, I would say the last year has been for sure the most enjoyable, happy year of my life in like a calendar sense. So this video is being recorded at the end of March 2023. I began sort of DNing digital nomading in like early February 2022. That's when I gave up my apartment for the last time, and ever since then I've just been kind of like hopping around different places, like short-term sublets in Toronto, and just moving around and seeing some pretty cool things. So I'll show some highlight clips here from some of the places I've been and some of the cool things I've done. But essentially, I think if it's going to be right for you, it's going to come down to a few things. So, looking at it from people who are on Instagram or, people you may follow on like YouTube or TikTok or whatever, the portrayal of digital nomad is like a lot of the good times, like don't look at it exclusively through like rose tinted goggles of what could be or grass is always greener, because honestly there's a lot of challenges with it. So of course, let's talk about the pros. Like there's some amazing things. Like your growth is going to be incredible. Like a year ago today, I spoke no Spanish. Now I can like conversely function in society in pretty much any Spanish speaking country, which is awesome, right? Like considering I'm late 20s picking up a second language, I never thought I'd be able to do that, especially like if I looked back like 5 years, even like 3 years ago, I didn't think that would be a reality, but here we are, and I'm functioning in a lot of countries that only speak Spanish. So that's obviously amazing, and you learn a lot about yourself, and the people you meet are incredible, and I think ties into the type of person you're going to meet while traveling like this. Is they're very very well traveled, very experienced, and I'm usually not the most traveled person in the room anymore. So, when I go back home and I'm talking about my travels, it's like kind of like shock and awe with some people who maybe go on vacation like once or twice a year. They've been to like maybe 5 countries, that kind of thing. And then it really humbles you when you realize how many other people there are out there who are doing this full time for like years on end, going to incredible places and living a life that is just, it's like a step above, like the normal 9 to 5 of like going to an office, working, coming home, saving for like a retirement or 2 vacations a year. For me, that's never really been appealing. I've never wanted like a white picket fence, that kind of thing. I've always wanted to enjoy my life, my youth as much as I can. So for me, this lifestyle, it caters towards that preference. I'm not being stupid with my money, but at the same time, I'm definitely living. I'm living. I'm not saving 50-60% of what I make. I'm not squirreling all of it away to buy like a shitty first home way out of the city that I can like put a down payment on. Like that's not something I'm prioritizing. I'm prioritizing my enjoyment right now, and then also like presuming there's going to be a rainy day at some point where this is going to have to end, so making sure I'm set up at that point. But these types of people you meet are also in that mode of just enjoying life and are always open to new experiences and seeing new things and going on like, I don't know, excursions or trips or seeing like a museum or going to a new restaurant or going for a cafe. Like they're just very open-minded people for most things, which is amazing for me, and that definitely plays well into my like ideal sort of friend group. And you get to learn a lot more about, I think, the world when you're meeting these kind of people, right? Because they all have stories that are similar to mine, right? Like when I talk about moving to Colombia last year and going to Santa Marta and staying like sketchy hostels and like living in the jungles and going paragliding and shit like that. It's cool to people who haven't done it, but then for me, I talk to people who just like came back from Cape Town, South Africa and did a safari and saw like lions and rhinos and shit, or someone who just came from like I don't know, Alexandria and in Egypt and was like surfing on the coast and like stuff that I didn't even know was possible. So I think you learn a lot more about the world, like first of all, just from being exposed to this, but second of all, the people you meet who have gone around and gone to cool places that you want to see, and then that gives you motivation for where you want to go in the future. So I think that's probably the best part, is the people you meet. Now, kind of building off of that, I guess, like to be devil's advocate a little bit, if you are someone who requires like a really steady friend circle or familial circle where you can bounce like support off of, and you need like that everyday sort of check-in with like a family member or a friend to keep yourself sane or like, you know, stable, it's going to be kind of challenging. A lot of this time you're spending on your own, and like in airports alone, in hotel rooms alone, in Airbnbs alone. So it's a lot of time just you and your thoughts. So I think for me, like having like this YouTube as an outlet to express how I'm feeling and what I'm going through in that current day has actually been a really big help for me to kind of bounce ideas off the camera and then ideally help someone else out there. But you are spending a lot of time alone. So if you're someone who gets uncomfortable, you need like that support circle. It can be pretty difficult. Not saying you shouldn't try it. I think everyone should at least one point in their life do like a 3 to 6 month trip where they're abroad or in South America, because that growth phase is just incredible. And I think it opens your eyes into how the rest of the world lives. If you've only been to like the US and Canada, and maybe like Mexico for something, or like a vacation somewhere, you don't really get to see like how other people are living and how they're operating. And it's a really humbling fact, and it kind of brings us all together. You know, we're globalized on the news and the finance and like the manufacturing, but when you actually go there and experience the culture and the people, it kind of brings that sense of warmth and globalization into like more of a human aspect, which I think is really, really powerful. But on the flip side, if you're really introverted, it can be difficult to make friends. Like I'm someone who's extremely extroverted. My social battery does not need much time to recharge. I can pretty much strike up a conversation with anyone at any time. And even for me, it can get a little tiring in the sense of I'm used to solo traveling, like making a friend group, going to like language exchanges, going to bars, meeting people, like hostel lounges, that kind of thing. But then you're constantly in like a cycle of like new friends coming in, new friends leaving, new friends coming in, new friends leaving. So that it can kind of take you down if you want to have like long-term relationships, long-term friendships. So just keep that in mind as well, that can be like a hurdle for some people to get over. So let's say you are someone who is potentially a little bit introverted, a little bit nervous about meeting people. What can you do? My advice would be to try something like Remote Year or Wi-Fi Tribe or something like that, or even like EF Ultimate Break, one of their longer trips, Kentucky, that kind of thing, where they could organize you in like a group for a longer trip. I generally recommend like 1 month as your first like digital nomad experience. And I think that gives you a good sense of, can I do this? Can I live in this foreign place? It'll also give you a sense of the community and the city you're in long enough that you'll start to feel like a little bit of a part of it. I think like 2 to 3 months is really the sweet spot, but 1 month, get your toes wet. And then if you don't like it, you can always just fly home after 1 month. You know, that's not like a super long commitment where you're invested for like 4, 5, 6 months. You're not giving up your apartment kind of thing. So I would recommend doing that before diving in head first and really, really committing. The other thing you want to be conscious of, and maybe if you're like a frivolous spender at home, is you can blow through your budget really, really quickly with the temptation of wanting to do all the things, right? If you're in like a foreign place, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I'm in Mexico City right now for a month, actually with Remote Year on a program they're running here in Mexico City. And we had like different day trips we can do on each weekend. One was like a hot air balloon. One was to like the magic town nearby for like a sweat sort of temple ceremony thing. I'm not really too sure what it was. There was the Xochimilco's like river boats where you get to like get drunk and sail up and down these rivers, which was awesome. The Tolentinoga hot springs, I may have butchered that pronunciation. Mucho luchador, like wrestling training, and then we go see the pyramids. So like some pretty cool stuff. But if you try and do all of that, you're gonna spend like a lot of money, as well as like potentially like eating out every single day, every meal, like just buying all the things. You can really, really quickly rack rack up a pretty unsustainable budget. So it's important to understand, like, when you're doing these longer trips, if you're someone who can't really maintain a budget at home, it's gonna be extremely difficult to maintain a budget while you're abroad, even if it's in a country with lower costs of living, because you're gonna be much more temptation. So the idea is, if you can maintain like a good budget and live like a somewhat frugal lifestyle, I'm not saying like hide out, I'm saying, you know, enjoy yourself. I go out all the time and I eat out, but I'm smart about it. You know, you need to make sure you're following that budget at home, so that when you go to these lower cost of living countries, you can actually come out financially ahead, which is like sort of a foreign concept for us from North America, but something to think about as well. So I think that kind of summarizes like if you should try it or not. Hopefully this gives you an idea of like my experience of the type of people who enjoy this the most. I think it's us who are, you know, comfortable traveling, familiar with it, but also, you know, comfortable being away from home for an extended period of time and don't get homesick, don't really require a lot of like support and guidance. Like, we can do our own thing and really thrive on our own. And, you know, it's important to be like introspective, like reading books, taking a journal, and really being like open about yourself and how you're feeling and how you're going through your day, because it can be a lot sometimes. There's going to be days where you're anxious, where you're sad, where you're lonely, but, you know, weighing the pros and cons of this lifestyle is really, really incredible. I'm very fortunate to do things like this. So with that being said, for me, I think it's a no-brainer. I love it. I can't imagine myself going back to a normal office and a normal 9 to 5. Hopefully someday I'll be able to do this like semi-permanently and enjoy kind of what the rest of the world has to offer. But for now, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing and making the most out of every day. So that's gonna be the video. Hope this was useful for those of you who are thinking about doing a remote working trip or a digital nomad trip. If this was useful, feel free to leave a like or a comment in the section below. Always helps the algorithm. Subscribe for more videos. As always, my name's Alex. Welcome back to Lifting Nomad. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.